World of YouTube. So the government is under attack again, this time on Islamophobia, which I believe is a made up word. I think you can criticize any religion in any way that you want, as long as you're not calling for action against a specific group because of what they believe. Right, that's my belief. So, what are they saying? Well, let's have a quick look at a couple of videos to show you what they are saying.
I think the findings of this report show clearly that the Conservative Party is institutionally racist, and that's based upon the definition of what is institutional racism. The Macpherson inquiry was very clear. It defines institutional racism as, and I'll quote this, the collective failure of an organisation detected in processes, attitudes and behaviour. And each of those processes, attitudes and behaviour in this particular case and in the findings of this report are found. I mean, the report highlights that the party's processes have failed and need an overall haul, from policy to strategy to implementation to data collection. There is a root and branch overhaul being done because the process has failed. From attitudes, we're hearing as part of this report that people are still giving evidence anonymously. They don't feel confident to add their name to the evidence of racism that they're giving. And those that do give evidence, complainants, are seen as troublemakers. Behaviour, the report concludes that from the top, from the Prime Minister at one level, to local associations at the bottom, there is an attitude issue and a problem and a behaviour issue in terms of Islamophobia. If it looks like institutional racism, feels like institutional racism, fits the definition of institutional racism, then I'm afraid it is institutional racism. I think Boris accepts that he is part of the problem and that he got it wrong in the past. And as he says himself, that words that he used and thought he could get away with a journalist are not the words that would suit a prime minister.
Okay. First of all, the report found that it was not institutionally racist. Someone should also tell that lady that Islam is a religion and not a race. You can be any colour, creed, whatever you want and still believe in Islam. So how can something be institutionally racist if they're basically just criticising a religion? Now, what did Boris Johnson say that she has such a problem with? Well, let me just show you this brief little clip of somebody explaining what he said. As you can see, he described Muslim women who wear the burqa as looking like letterboxers and bank robbers. They do. I mean, come on, have you ever seen somebody wearing a burqa? You can see nothing, absolutely nothing apart from their eyes. Someone else also had a conversation with somebody on Sky News about this and went in a little bit deeper. So I'm just going to play you a part of that clip now, and then I'll give you my 2 cents and we'll discuss this a little bit further.
You are comparing women, Muslim women wearing burqas, to not being able to go into a bank wearing a crash helmet. Is that right?
What I'm saying is that you're not allowed to go into a bank with your face covered so that the CCTV can't see you.
What's that got to do with anything?
That's it. That's important. What's that got to do with anything?
Yeah.
Well, that's the rules of going into the bank. You have to show your face, don't you?
What on earth has that got to do with suggesting that women in a burqa look like bank robbers?
Well, there's millions of years of human evolution that we look for affirmation for our own words and actions in the faces of others. And when people can't see someone's face, it makes them feel uncomfortable because they don't get that behavioural feedback. And it makes me uncomfortable. But no, someone wearing a burqa doesn't make me any more uncomfortable than trying to have a conversation with someone wearing a crash helmet with the visor down.
And Sky News doing what they do best there, mocking people who have different opinions than what they believe. But just to clarify what he said, you're not allowed to do it when you're in a crash helmet. And if you go in a bank with your face covered, it makes people worried, thinking, oh, what are they going to do? Why are you covering your face? There's also another side to this as well, as I'm an ex-British soldier. Part of the problem is, for the last 20 years, we've been fighting fanatics. Now, not everyone in Islam believes what these fanatics believes, but there are groups that use the Quran to justify violent actions and horrific crimes, and they want to imprison the entire world and bring in Sharia law. So, of course, course there's going to be certain people that are worried by that. Wouldn't you be? I mean, I am. I'm worried about certain groups. This, for me, is just getting ridiculous. Islamophobia is a made-up word. If you can't criticise something, then freedom of speech no longer exists. Again, as long as you're not calling for action on that group. The burqa situation has been ongoing for a while now. I mean, I've been in swimming baths before where we're not allowed to wear our normal clothes. We have to wear swimming shorts, things like that. But then you see people with full burqas, full dress, just go wading in. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the clothes could be filthy. They're putting all sorts of stuff into there. Again, not saying that it's everybody in Islam that believes the sort of horrific things that certain groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Hamas believe. But there is some people that do. And because of that, the Western world, over the last 20 years, has been very wary about Islam. Islamophobia is a made-up word, in my opinion. No one ever says anything. There's no made-up word for criticising Christians because they just turn the other cheek and they realise words are words, ignore them, water off a duck bag. But for me, this again is another planned attack by the media against the government to try and take down the British government, because in the last few votes, Boris Johnson's won a majority and also took a lot of seats off on Labour, and Labour are now in shambles. But yeah, absolutely ridiculous. The Sasser Johnson story didn't fit the narrative, so now they're calling the Conservative group Islamophobes. No, they're not. Everyone's got a right to their own opinion. Like I said, as long as they're not calling for them to be round up and put into camps like what China are doing to the Uyghurs, which I disagree with. They shouldn't be doing that, re-education camps. That's a fact. That's happening. So why aren't you calling out China, but you're calling out the Western world, who have the freest society that we've ever had? I mean, in what other country would you be able to go on a national mainstream media channel and criticise and make claims of racist behaviour against the government? You've seen what happened in Belarus. Any other government in the world that is more of a dictatorship, like Russia, China, even Saudi Arabia, Iran, they would get locked up, probably tortured, and maybe killed for their beliefs. Not in the West. You can believe what you want and you can say what you want. Again, as long as you are not calling for action against a certain group because of what they believe. Ridiculous. As ever, guys, this is just my opinion based on what I'm seeing, trying to get my views out there to counterbalance the blatant attacks that are going on at the moment against our government. Our government's not perfect by any means. There are things I disagree with them on, not to mention sort of the lockdowns, the vaccine passports. I disagree with all of that. But the best that we ever had in the Western culture at the moment is the best government system the world has ever seen, and it is now under attack, and Marxist groups are trying to overturn that using social media and also mainstream media. By the way, Sky News is now backed by Comcast, which is an American government, not American government, sorry, an American company. They're left-leaning. So this is why we're getting everything that we are at the minute. And people call Sky News right-wing. They're not at all. So, as ever, if you disagree, please leave your comments below. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Let's debate this issue.